Well, this definitely isn't my favorite episode of the series thus far, but it really kind of helped to wind things down, and we got to see Hisoka and the Phantom Troupe, which is great. Hunter x Hunter, episode 72, Chase and Chance. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and hunters of the Nerd Nation. I, as alwax, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome, tantalizing, and tag-filled tale of, you guessed it, Hunter x Hunter. Now, the last few episodes, actually, were obviously just the deadliest, coolest freaking game of dodgeball, like, in the history of dodgeball, period. Like, I don't know if I'd want to play no game of dodgeball like that, but I could watch that shit all day long. And really what wound up happening is it ended with Killua, Gon, and Bisky going on their way, and Killua's going to try to heal up. They're going to try to come up with a plan. Killua's been tasked with that, and Bisky's going to try to train Gon for his inevitable fight with Genthru. Genthru and his group obviously threaten Sagara and their group, and if they don't give them the card they want, they're going to basically, you know, be angry at them and do all kinds of, you know, whatever childish bullshit that they do. And wound up the episode left off with, of course, Sagara going and saying, hey, listen, we will buy you guys a few weeks, 3 weeks as a matter of fact, he said, and then after that, we're going to settle all this, whoever's going to fight's going to fight, but we want your Lucky Alexandrite card. So that's how things left off, and things actually pick up right over there with this. And to tell you the truth, this was, in all honesty, a fairly boring episode. The high point of it for me was the first few minutes. We wind up seeing Hisoka and Finks, who we had contacted at the end of the last episode. And obviously the Phantom Troupe has located, you know, the Nen Exorcist, the remover of Nen, so they can obviously, you know, use this person to remove the Nen that is obviously that was placed by Kurapika on Krollo Lucifer, you know, with the obviously the thing that the dagger that would go into and pierce his heart if he tried to use any of his powers. So. That was the most interesting part. Hisoka, just awesome and creepy as fuck as usual, and I really like it because he's sitting there on this ridge and he's looking, and he can sense the presence of somebody there, right, that was trying to conceal themselves, and he's just like super on edge and perceptive, and they're just like, you know, what the hell is with you? You didn't even use your end, you didn't even use this and that, and he's just like... He's basically just like, I just had this big fight and I'm pretty much still like on edge. And for him and his creepiness, it basically means he's still got a boner. You know what I mean? That's what it means. He's got a boner. When people say I got a bone to pick with you, he says I got a boner to pick with you. You know, or I got a boner I want you to touch. Anyway, regardless of pedophile-like clowns, he's really cool and creepy in that sense because they're like, all right, you're going to go and, you know, talk with this guy and convince him to remove, you know, Grollo's Nen, right, that's on him. And we're introduced to this new Phantom Troupe member. This it appears to be like a little, just kind of weird-looking, darkish type girl. You know what I mean? Just sort of, and like just dark in the sense of like she just looks like, I don't know, like her family were like witches or warlocks or something. Anyway, so we're introduced to her very briefly. She's obviously she's his replacement. And what I thought was kind of cool is that, you know, Hisoka is just so great at egging people on. You know, he's just like, you know, he's asking, I think it was Machi, he's like, if I wind up beating, you know, Krollo, what's going to happen and this and that, you know, and she's like, that's a stupid question. You won't be able to beat him, but I'll answer it just to tell you, you know, I would hunt you down to the ends of the earth and everything else. And he doesn't even, it's so great. Hisoka's just right there, right? He's just like, okay, that's good, you know, and that like excites him. It excites him that somebody would come after him and chase him down to try to kill him. I mean, I love the guy. Absolutely love him. Probably the coolest anti-hero that I've ever seen, you know, or villain or whatever the hell you want to call him. The rest of the episode, though, honestly, can be placed... what it is it's a bunch of back and forth. It's showing Killua, Gon, and Bisky during that course, that 3 weeks that Sagara's buying them. It's showing them trying to train. Killua's trying to heal up and think of a plan. Bisky winds up going, and instead of teaching Gon, you know, level 1, level 2, level 3 tactics, you know, to kind of build up his power gradually, she knows that they have a short amount of time, and she takes a gamble by jumping right to level 5 and trying to teach him how to basically stand on one hand and use an emitter ability where he can actually go and push himself up into the air by concentrating his aura into his hand and picturing it happening. She's doing this because she believes that that will give him an advantage and another skill set or move set to utilize in the fight between him and Genthru. He'll actually be able to knock him back and buy him some more time and open up more options for him, right? So, really the whole thing with that is it goes back and forth, and the bottom line is that with only 5 days left, Gon having trained for a couple weeks straight doing this, he still can't do it. He can only push himself up just a couple inches off the ground. Now listen, I'm not judging because I can't even do a one-handed handstand, right? I would be crushed under my own weight and probably fall and break my wrist and cry like a little girl. You know, and actually that's not even right. We shouldn't offend little girls. The point being is that, you know, what he's doing is still very, very cool and very next level. He's just not able to do it to the full potential that Bisky wants him to be able to. So really, and without going back and forth, and then I'll explain everything that happens, of course, that I saw with Segura and his group and Genthru and his group of losers. And the episode for their portion winds up ending with Killua basically going and saying, Gon, give it up. I got a plan now, and you know what? You're not getting this anyway. And I don't know if he's just trying to anger Gon, and hopefully Gon will go and push it to that next level because he's so singularly focused that he's got to get it done, and that's how he's got to do it. But, you know, that's what the bottom line is. That's where things end off, is that Killua has basically said, I've got a plan, and now you're going to listen to me, right? So then we go over into the Segura and his group camp, and they go and they meet up with Genthru and his guys, and they wind up using Levy real quick to steal some cards, and then they use a company to go and, you know, swoosh them off to whatever, to Macedora, I think is where they go, and they don't really steal any cards of consequence from them. But what they do is they try to use some hit-and-run tactics based on knowing where their location is and having Gorenu, the guy that obviously was with them, was with Gon and Killua and Bisky and whatnot, and then decided to kind of hang around with them. He's kind of like spying for them and seeing what's going on. They're trying to collect as many cards as they can, like the accompany and return type of cards, because their whole hope is that anytime Genthru might find them and try to ambush them, they can just use a company, say whatever city they want to go to, and they'll be whisked away, right? And that's their whole plan. That's what they're doing. And they're basically just trying to pretty much do a smoke and mirrors, man. Hey, look this way. Oh, we're gone. They try to do some attacks, some hit-and-run tactics in the middle of the night, and it's really just to keep Genthru and his group off guard, really. And that's what I look at it like, right? So Genthru and his couple of guys over there, they wind up getting wise to that. So they wind up going and hanging out by the card shop in Macedora, or wherever the hell it is, where people can buy these spell cards. And they pretty much just go and beat up anybody who comes out of there. If they look in their book, in their binder, if they've had any contact with Segura or his group, they kill them, right? You know, the bomber with his awesome little flower power, you know. And he's like just the most non-intimidating villain that I've ever seen. Seriously, like when I look at him, I laugh. But anyway, so they do that. They beat up on people. They steal their cards, and they do it because they want to play. They basically want to play a game of tag, and they don't want to start playing the game of tag because they're little bitches until they actually have an unfair advantage. So what they do is they continually go and look and see what type of cards and how many Segura has in his group of the accompany and their return type, and they just make sure that they keep beating people up and stealing from them, right, like bullies do, until they have more. And then the rest of the episode plays out with them using a company to get to, you know, Segura's group, and then Segura going and using a company and going off somewhere. And they're beaming everywhere else, right? All around Green Island, all around beaming, until eventually they run out of accompany cards, because Segura's group has less than Genthru, and Genthru, being a little weak-ass, weak-dick, pussy-ass bitch that he is, he waited until he had that unfair advantage in this game of cards, and really what it is. He's found every way to try to exploit anything that he could in this game, and has done it in just the most bitch-filled way that I could possibly think of, you know. And really just, like I said, just really is kind of like a scumbag, you know, but a scumbag that you don't even fear. At least I don't. That's just me, though. So anyway, I certainly hope that whatever villain or whatnot is the centerpiece of the next arc will actually be a little more intimidating than this guy. However, based on, you know, the rules within this game and everything else, like, you know, he's fine, he's adequate for it. I just don't care for him. I don't, you know, I'm indifferent about him. I don't think he's a good villain. He's not somebody I love to hate. I just hate him, you know. So, but anyway, so they play this game of tag until eventually Segura's, you know, group runs out of that, and then they wind up going and using return, and they wind up. And the bottom line is what they wind up doing is they wind up going and using return or exit, whatever that one is, to get out of the actual game, and then they wind up in Batera's mansion, right? And there's supposed to be guards and everything else, and there's no guards, there's only one guy left, and this guy's like, you know, Segura's like, what's going on? And he's like, Batera told us that he called everything off, you know, he gave us our pay, and the only reason I stuck around was just to basically let you know what was going on. So Segura's like, what the fuck, right? You know, this dude's been looking for this, trying to complete this game and sending people in and spending billions and billions of Jenny. Like, half of his fortune, I think, was spent on some of those games, you know, in York New City to buy more copies of Green Island. Anyway, pushing that aside, Segura's pissed, right? So he goes stomping over and goes to try to find him in his room, his office, whatever, banging on the door. What are you doing? We're this close. We only need 3 more cards. We only need this and that, you know. And they don't really show all of his face. They show like this kind of perspective shot of Batera, and Batera's in there and he's just like, just go away, it's fine, you've been paid, you know, and he's like crying. So I don't know if there's been an attack on a family member or somebody that he loved by this dickless moron Genthru. I'm not sure. That I'm not sure about. I just know that the episode ends off with basically the guy who told Segura what was going on and everything like that getting his face blown off by the Genthru the bomber with his little flower power attack. And then so they know that obviously he's there for them. Genthru and his two cohorts are there for them in the real world now. And honestly, in the real world, I don't see how this turd burglar could stand any type of chance against him. Segura keeps talking about how he's the single star hunter and everything else, and even if the guys with him aren't that strong, I don't know how he can't go and take this tall drink of water out, because the guy really doesn't have as much power when he's out of the game and doesn't have all these different bitch cards to fall back on. So, I don't know. That's how the episode ends off, though, and certainly looking forward to watching the next one to see what happens as we wrap up this arc. But my episode question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is really what are your thoughts on, you know, Genthru and the fact that everybody seems so scared of this guy? And, like, I get that his little flower, cheap-ass bomb technique, that if he touched you at one point or came in contact with you, there could be a bomb on you and everything else. I get that part's scary. But, like, just the sheer amount of power and, like, behemoths that we have in this particular game, these people that have gone in there, they're people that were hand-selected by Batera through Segura as well because they were powerful and had great abilities. So I find it hard to believe that this dingaling and the two balls that he's got hanging with him, these other two frickin' ass wipes, that they would be any type of consequence to anyone. So let me know what your thoughts are on that, though. Am I missing something? Why is everybody so scared of Genthru and his two cohorts? Leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nash. Remember to subscribe to my other channels and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram too.